On this channel, I've created a few kakanin recipes. And kakanin is a term for Filipino rice-based desserts. And there's a whole variety of them. The recipe we're going to do today could classify as kakanin. However, it's actually not from the Philippines. It's something that I've had the pleasure of trying when we were in Hawaii. The texture is kind of similar to cassava cake, but it's not made with cassava. It's actually made with glutinous rice flour. Can you guys guess what it is? Go ahead, guess. You have 3 seconds after the intro. Guess. Okay, I'm talking about butter mochi. And so when I first tried it, I was like, why does this taste so familiar? It's got a dense and chewy texture. It was very similar to cassava cake, but of course it's made of primarily coconut milk, glutinous rice flour, butter, and a few other ingredients. And I've also seen it with other flavors such as pumpkin. I've even seen ube or chocolate butter mochi. And I think I saw one somewhere where they slathered lilikoi on top of butter mochi. And lilikoi is passion fruit. I was actually tempted to put flavoring in this butter mochi recipe, but I thought I should probably show you guys the original first, and then you guys can add your own flavor twists to it at home. So before we start making it, make sure you subscribe for more Filipino food and culture. Go ahead and check the description for some goodies. And that's it. Let's go start making some butter mochi. Like I mentioned, butter mochi is made with glutinous rice flour. So grab a 16-ounce or 1-pound bag of glutinous rice flour or mochiko. I'm using my stand mixer, but you can actually just mix everything by hand. Next, add 2 cups of white sugar. I like to cut back a lot on sugar because I don't like my desserts being too sweet, but if you like it a bit sweeter, you can add another cup. Then dump in 1 tablespoon of baking powder. Mix up all the dry ingredients thoroughly and then set it aside so we can mix the liquid ingredients together. Grab a bowl that's bigger than what I've got here and then crack 5 eggs. I know, right? 5 eggs? It should be called egg mochi instead of butter mochi. Beat these eggs lightly and then you're going to add 1/2 cup of melted butter. Make sure the butter is not scorching hot or else it might partly cook your eggs. Mix these two up and then we're going to pour in 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. After that, grab 1 12-ounce can of coconut cream and make sure you shake it up. You can also use coconut milk, but coconut cream will, well, make it slightly creamier. Now mix this carefully. And I really hope you listened and got that larger bowl. And then you just dump this all on top of the dry ingredients. Oh, and to make it even more coconutty, I got this pack of freshly grated coconut from the frozen section of my local Filipino store. You can also use these dry coconut flakes, but I like the texture of the freshly grated coconut ones better. Alright, so I used 2 cups of this freshly grated coconut. It's going to be so coconutty. And if you don't want coconut, you can always put something else. Okay, now tell me in the comments, what other flavors are you going to put in your butter mochi? I want some ideas. Let me know so I can experiment with them at home. Alrighty, that's everything. So just mix everything up. Mix, 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 mix until they're all well integrated. Now it's time to transfer into a baking pan. Other recipes call for a 9x13 pan, but I used a 9x9 pan because I'm a daredevil. And hey, you gotta use what you've got at home, and this is what I got. Just make sure you grease your pan very well. You can either use more butter or you can use an oil like I'm doing here. I'm using olive oil. Now just pour your mixture in. Now this is what I meant by daredevil. It's so full, just be very careful when you're walking to the oven. When you get to your oven safely, preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit or 190 degrees Celsius. Once it's fully preheated, stick your butter mochi in there and let it bake for 1 hour. That's right, 1 hour, because it's an extremely wet batter. but dang, it's so worth it. Look at that flaky brown top layer. At first look, it looks like a cake, but when you cut into it, your knife will meet a lot more resistance compared to cutting through a cake, since this is primarily glutinous rice flour. Oh, and hey, wait at least 10 minutes before cutting into this so it can set a little bit. I was a little too excited to cut right into it so I could eat it. Look at that texture. It's stretchy, it's chewy, it's coconutty. And the edges are slightly crispy. Perfect. So I love making butter mochi because this is one of those recipes where you just dump everything into one bowl, you mix it up, you bake it, that's it. You don't have all these fancy steps in order to make it, and yet it delivers this satisfying, dense and chewy texture, and also that delicious coconutty flavor. But of course, if you don't like coconut, you can always substitute a different flavor to it. Well, that's it, guys. This recipe is super easy. I hope you try to make it at home. And again, let me know what kind of flavors you're gonna put in your butter mochi. I'm actually excited to hear what you have to say. Thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in next week's video. Bye!